Well, in a time of lots of questions, it's really awesome to praise Him. A lot of people have been asking, how could this happen? Why does God allow? Why does a good God allow evil to occur? There's lots of questions, and we can certainly take time to answer and talk through those. But I have a lot of other questions like, why has God been so patient with us that He's allowed people more time to come to Him? Why in His long suffering has He chosen to tarry as He has? I suspect it's to give some people a little bit more time. Why is He so loving and gracious in spite of our own evil? And why, in the light of living in a fallen world, would we not be more vigilant and diligent to be in His Word, to be of His people? You know, lots of questions, because when bad news breaks in, it undoes us. When you're at a concert and you're having a good time, you don't expect crazy stuff to begin happening. And it was a week ago this evening, Sunday night, a little after 10 p.m. I mean, the whole weekend, the whole concert, everything was wrapping up. It's like time to wind down. We're on the last song, when a lone gunman unleashed an abrupt, completely unexpected fury of gunfire on country music lovers in Las Vegas, injuring over 500 people and killing 58. For the gunman, the assassin, the man of evil, the terror was designed and it was deliberate. It was predatory and it was planned. No surprise there. And by the way, just a reminder, sin never sleeps. Satan never slumbers. He always prowls about like a roaring lion, trying to destroy and devour and disrupt us. Malevolent, nefarious, hateful, wicked people exist and are. Don't want to think about it, but depravity and destructiveness always looms. But for us, the unsuspecting, the terror was sudden, it was swift, it was surprising, startling and stunning. Completely unanticipated, unforeseen, unpredicted. As I talked to people this week, a lot of them said I was caught completely off guard. I was completely astonished. When your comfort is rattled, and when good times are shaken, and when your worldview, so to speak, is completely shattered, in those moments it's very difficult to think and to be thoughtful, because there's no time to make big decisions. Evil just breaks in. And I regret to share with you what is probably obvious, but it's just a little bit painful to share. As unexpected as this was, some people simply weren't ready. They were not ready to die. They weren't ready to meet their Maker. Some people were not ready to give an account for the way they've lived their lives before their Creator. But there they were. That's one thing about Sue, Belinda, your daughters, your families. It's like, I know people who know the Lord, and they're ready. None of us want a hurricane, a car crash, cancer, the unexpected to occur. But I'm just so grateful in the midst of a fallen, unpredictable world that you guys are ready spiritually. You're ready with the Lord. But that's not true of most people. They go the broad way, not the narrow way. The broad way that leads to destruction. We're tackling this today because, of course, over half of the victims in the Las Vegas massacre were from Southern California. Of the 58, 29 of them were Southern Californians. 4 of them from the San Fernando Valley, 1 from our very own valley, and many more still recovering just from injuries. So as disturbing and horrifying and unsettling as this all is, as emotional as it is. I'm grateful the people I know that were there were ready. And that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. I know you know a little bit of our American history. I know that you know that gun violence is not a new thing. I know you know about Sandy Hook, gunshots at an elementary school. We know about Columbine, gunshots at a high school. We know about Virginia Tech, gunshots at a college. We know about Aurora, Colorado, gunshots in a movie theater. We know about Fort Hood, gunshots on one of our military bases. So intellectually, there's no question here. We know, like, stuff can happen anywhere in a fallen, broken world, and we know it firsthand because we've experienced it. We don't have to talk about Rome or Greece or ancient history. We can talk about stuff that's happened in our lifetime. And yet people aren't ready. We need to be ready. Some of you have had the privilege of traveling overseas, and of course when I do that I love going to churches and places of worship and just seeing how, people gather together. And one of my favorites was in Vatican City, in the region of Italy, St. Paul's, St. Peter's Cathedral, and you have the Sistine Chapel there. Any of you been in the Sistine Chapel? Some of you, so a good chunk of you. And I don't know what your experience was there, but I brought just a couple pictures. You have St. Peter's, which is colossal, and then you have this smaller chapel, but just rich with tapestries and candles and tile mosaics and paintings. And who did those paintings in there, right? Michelangelo, right? And he's known for, this picture in the top right, which is really the center of the ceiling murals with the creation of man, God reaching out and man being created. And you can see there's a service here. And it's just really breathtaking. And I was just taking it all in. Like, I can't even imagine worshiping in this place. It's just like, in a day and age, remember, no TVs. In a day and age where you didn't have television and cable and phones and printing presses, this is where they learned a lot of their Bible stories, through this artwork. It just spoke to them. But really what caught me as I sat down and thought, okay, what if I was worshiping here, was more that center picture on that center wall. That really grabbed me, because this is Michelangelo's version of the coming of Christ. That is the return of Christ. That is him coming back. I'm like, wow, can you imagine hearing a message every week in this chapel, and the backdrop of every single message, because they didn't have PowerPoints, so they couldn't change all, like, you had the same picture every week, is Christ is coming back, you better be ready. Every week, as you face forward in the Sistine Chapel, it's Michelangelo's vision that Christ wants you to know you better be ready. There's the trumpeters blaring the trumpets, there's the warning signals, the get your head in the ball game, like this is no time to be sleep or slumber. Be ready, he's returning, and people will be dragged down at that moment into their eternal destiny of doom, or they'll be lifted up with the good angels into a celestial heaven, but you better be ready. And as you get a little closer, you can see, part of that front mural was these trumpeters going, be warned, like, hello, this is like a siren call, like, be ready. Every week you would see Christ is coming back. Like, get your stuff in order. Yes, for your car, have AAA. Have a cell phone and put flares in the trunk of your car, just in case. Make sure you have life insurance, right? Just in case. Like, get your ducks in an order. But spiritually, know he's coming back. So be doing the things the Lord wants you to do so you're ready. That's like every week you're going to be seeing that. And of course, at the focal point is in fact Christ himself. The God-man coming, calling his people. And some coming to himself, and others being dragged down. Because in that sudden moment, that unexpected return, there's not going to be time to make a decision then. You're either ready or not. So this morning, I just want to focus on one passage that Christ gives us, his very words, in Matthew 24. So why don't we read it together? We'll go verse by verse and just unpack it. It's not a totally feel-good passage, but it's a necessary passage. It's the very thing he thought his disciples needed before they were going to be barraged by Rome, before his crucifixion, before the burial, the resurrection, and their own martyrdom. He wanted them to know this message. And Matthew, by the way, is the author of the book of Matthew. He records for us a lot of messages that Christ gave. The Sermon on the Mount in chapter 5, 6, and 7. Some of the great kingdom parables in chapter 13. But we're at the very end of the book now. 24 and 25, called the Olivet Discourse. This is a bit of a scorcher sermon. This is where he takes it up a little bit and says, you know what? Time is closing, I'm going to have to be direct with you. So just be forewarned, he's direct with me and he's direct with you. Here's what he says in verse 36. Follow along with me. But about the day or the hour, in other words, regarding the exact time of my coming back, no one knows. No one knows. Not even the angels in heaven, the very messengers of God. The FedEx system, the delta force of the cosmos, they're not clued in yet. Not even the Son of Man. I don't know. Which in and of itself is a theological mystery, because here's the omnipotent divine one, but in his humanity he says, in my humanity, I don't know. But only the Father. Verse 37, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Well, what do we know about the days of Noah? Remember Noah? He's the guy who built the boat, right? In the days of Noah, we see from Scripture, everyone was doing what was right in their own eyes, right? Everyone was living relativism. What's good for me may not be good for you. You do your own thing. Pluralism, hedonism, secularism. In fact, it was so bad in the days of Noah, God says in Genesis, that everyone was doing what was not only right in their own eyes, but they were doing evil all the time. They were really bad. God's actually contemplating, I may have to do a do-over. People have gotten so base, so evil, so wicked, so self-centered, I might have to clean the slate, literally, and do a do-over. He says, as it was back then, that's what it's going to be like when he comes back. It's going to be a Pearl Harbor. No one's going to see it coming. The deluge will be a 9/11. You'll just be flying around doing your thing, and all of a sudden it's wait a minute, something's different. Verse 38, for in the days before the flood, before the surprise, before the chaotic crisis, before the national disaster, before it hit world news, people were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage up to the day Noah entered the ark. Up until the very moment before the flood actually began, people were eating. The Hebrew word here actually means gnawing, like they were Vikings or something. Wow. They were just, it's kind of a gluttonous term. They were gorging themselves. They were partying. And the term drinking here is they progressively had a habitual, regular pattern of drinking to excess, to intoxication. They were partying and going about life it's no big deal. Eat, drink, and be merry. They were getting married. They're giving their kids in marriage. They were just doing their thing. All the way up to the moment Noah got on the boat. And how long did Noah build that boat? How many years of preparation was it from the time God commanded him and he actually commenced his work? How many years did he build the boat? 120. That's 120 years of people kind of going, okay, really, we're about 119 years you've been saying a flood's going to come eventually, but we don't really need to take that seriously because he's been building that thing for so long, it does kind of look done. It's getting near the end, and it's got the doors and everything, and but hey, it's taken this long. What's going to happen? He's warned us, if you're not on the boat, it's going to be a problem. Literally, you better get on board with God. But we probably have time. Right? Christ talked about his returning 21 centuries ago. And it's not going to happen this week, this month. Why would it happen now? I mean, if he's taken this long, it says it's going to be just like that. Verse 39. And they knew nothing about what would happen. They understood nothing. They had no idea, no clue. They were oblivious to what would happen until the flood actually came and then took them away. They never even clued in until the water started, and the minute the water started, it was too late. The door was shut. The boat was floating away. And they were doomed. They weren't ready. After all those warnings, they weren't ready. And the flood took them away. That is exactly how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. One writer says their carnal pleasures, along with their reckless unbelief, along with their false security, blinded them from coming judgment. Okay, so Jesus gives an illustration. Here it is, verse 40. 2 men, they'll be in a field. 2 agricultural guys working outdoors, got their gloves on, their sleeves rolled up. They're just working. And boom, one will be taken, the other left. Let's go with women. We got 2 women grinding grain with a hand mill. This is before they realized a mill could be run by water or wind. They had to grind it manually. So it took 2 of them because they got the big rocks and they're kind of flat, but they got to grind it and turn it into flour. And so 2 of them will be grinding with a hand mill. Boom. One will be taken, the other will be left. Now, I'm not totally sure which one's which. I'm like, are they taken to be with the Lord and the others are just left? Or are they taken to judgment and the others are left? Unjudged. I think it's that one, actually. The more commentators I trust, and they're like, I think some will be taken immediately into judgment. Just because he's comparing it to the flood, and the way he talked about the flood is some would be taken out, in a sense. So I'm like, yeah. And others will be left safe on the boat. But either way, it's going to be bad for one, and it's going to be okay for the other, because one of them's ready and one of them's not. So be ready, verse 42. Therefore, keep watch, stay alert, stay awake, give strict attention, because you don't know. You just don't know. There's absolute no way of knowing or predicting on what day, whether near or far, that the Lord will come and show up. So there's a lot of warnings in Scripture. Christians are supposed to be watchful of their own evil hearts, temptation, the world, the devil. But here he says, I hope you're also watchful that I'm coming back. I've given you a lot of stuff, time, talent, and treasure. You need to be good stewards of it. And one day I'm going to call you to an account. Bring it in. Let's see what you've done. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you because no one knows. Only the Father knows. But I can tell you this. It will come when you don't expect it. Verse 43, Jesus says, let me give you an illustration. But understand this. Remember this. This is his way of saying, you do know this. There's a lot of things you don't know. But you know this. If the owner of the house, the homeowner, had known at what time of the night the thief was actually coming, what time the robber, the stealer, the burglar or the bandit, the crook or the criminal, the sniper, the destroyer of life was coming, he would have kept watch. He's not going to go to sleep. If you're a homeowner, someone's going to be breaking into your house, that's not a night you're going to be sleeping. That's a night you're going to be awake. And he would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready. That is, you who follow me, Jesus, must be ready, attentive, observant, circumspect, watchful, vigilant, because the Son of Man will come in an hour when you don't expect him. Look, let's take our brother Sean, right? God says to you, someone's going to be breaking into your house tonight. I know what we're going to be doing all day today, aren't we? Getting our guns out, getting our friends over.
They're already out.
They're already out. They're ready to go. We're going to get our dogs, our booby traps. We got our cameras set, right? If the homeowner knows it's happening tonight, you're ready. And Sue, let's invite Sean over to our house, right? I just feel safer when he's around, right? If you know it's going to happen, you don't go, I'm going to just go to bed. You just go, wait a minute. If someone's coming to terrorize our home tonight, then I'm calling the police. I'm going to do the 911 ahead of time. Tonight, about this time, we're going to need your assistance and help. I'm going to get everything prepped. He's like, well, that's how it is with my coming. You don't know. So does this mean you can't sleep? Of course, you can get physical sleep. But he says, spiritually, don't slumber. Spiritually, be awake. Mentally, be alert. You know, when it comes to your souls, like, this is no time, like, to take a nap. Make sure you're ready to meet your Maker. Make sure you have a personal relationship with Christ. Make sure that's resolved, because for those in Vegas, that time is gone for many of them. And this is where, with Sue and Belinda, I'm so grateful, and the daughters, Cassidy and Kiana, that you guys know the Lord. So no matter what, it's like, that piece is done. We have confidence in that. But for those who don't, when you're dead and you want to live, you better know someone who's resurrected and defeated death. You know, I have a lot of respect for people all over the world of different religions, but Muhammad's still in his grave, so is Confucius and Gandhi and Buddha, and it's like, they may all have really interesting things to say and things we can learn from. But when someone's shot and dead, they need someone who's conquered death, and I only know of one person who's done that. If you have another one, I'm open, but I don't know of one. But if you do know, then you're ready. He gives another story in verse 45. A couple servants. He says, who then is faithful? Who's like the trusty, loyal one? And who's a wise, sensible servant? Whom the master would depend on to put in charge of his other servants in the household and give them their food, feed them at the proper time and stuff. It will be good for that servant. It'll be a happy, blessed, like rewarding experience for that servant whose master finds him, what does your text say? Doing so productively when he returns and comes back. In fact, verse 47, truly I tell you, I'm going to shoot straight with you, he'll probably put that guy in charge of all of his possessions. What's he saying? Here's a scoop. You're going on a vacation, right? And so you hire someone. Look, we need the pool cleaned, we need the yard cut, the dogs need to be fed, there's a few things, watch the sprinklers, the alarm system, you know, to make sure the geraniums don't die. They need, you know. You put someone in charge, and we're going to be going to Europe for a month. But then your plans change. You're going to actually be home in just like 11 days. And so you come back unexpectedly, and you walk up to the house, and it's like, wow, this is unbelievable. Like, the windows are washed, everything's clean, the yard's cut, you watch the cars, the dogs are happy, the flowers are blooming. It's like, okay, this guy's faithful, because he didn't even know we were coming back. He thought he would be a couple more weeks. But we surprise came back because our plans changed, and it's like, our place is immaculate. We're going to put him in charge of other stuff, like not only our house, like, you want to run our finances for us? Maybe you can, right? Because you have a faithful servant there. But Jesus says, let me give you the opposite scenario. How about this one? Verse 48. But suppose the servant is actually wicked, evil, diabolical, from die, meaning he's two-sided. Kind of seems nice, but really isn't. Seems dependable, but can drop the ball. What happens if the wicked servant isn't the one you thought he was, and he says to himself, my master's staying away a long time. Like, I have no plans on him returning anytime soon. He's just tearing, he's doing his thing in Europe, whatever, no urgency. And then he begins to beat his fellow servants. The gardener, the pool keeper, he starts bossing them around. The master's gone, I'll be the master. A little tyrannical, a little authority, okay? A little Napoleon complex. But hey, I'm in charge here. And then he begins to eat and drink with the drunkards. Not only am I in charge, I can party. Beautiful mansion I'm taking care of. Stereo system they told me not to touch, but I'm not coming back for a while. Ransack the freezer, got some food here. Invite the friends over. They're not going to be here for a while, right? Eat, drink with drunkards. Well, verse 50, the master of that servant will come, and by the way, he certainly will come, on a day when he doesn't expect him. Vacation cut short. Cruise canceled. Sorry, we're back. I'm back. In that unconscious, unawake hour that he didn't expect, verse 51, this is not my words, this is Jesus's. He will cut him to pieces. Translated, he will slice him up and assign him a place with the hypocrites where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Okay, delightful. What does that mean? I don't totally know. Cut him up means make him into hash. I don't know if it means cut him down physically or emotionally or spiritually, but he's going to get punished. And then he's going to put him with the hypocrites. The Greek for hypocrite is, it's an acting term. It means to put on a mask. A hypocrite is someone who's actually one thing, but then they put on a mask and do something else. So I'm going to take this evil servant, because I came home and all of a sudden there's stuff in the pool, the yard's not cut. He hasn't done a thing we asked him to do. Surprise! Okay? I'm putting him with all the pretenders. The actors, the people who have the religious stuff. They say one thing, they got the fish on their car, they go to church, they have a Bible, but they don't live it. They're show people. It's show religion. I'm going to put them with the hypocrites, and they're going to be cast into outer darkness, where they'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I don't hang with those people. That is not someone that I am coming back for. I'm coming back to take my own into a kingdom where there are no snipers and there is no violence, and it's a kingdom of love forever. But for the pretenders, the hypocrites, the unfaithful, no. Okay, that's really fun. Some of these passages, I'm like, gosh, Lord, really? Be ready. Better be ready. He's like, I'm coming. You better get your stuff in order with the Lord. I was going to end right there, but let me, if you'll indulge me just a couple more minutes, let me just go a little further, just reading quickly, jet tour. He goes on to another story about the parable of the 10 virgins. Probably better translated for us, just bridesmaids. These are bridesmaids getting ready for a wedding. But by the way, in the old world, I know this is so ancient and archaic, but if you were a bridesmaid, meaning you weren't married yet, you were a virgin. So he says, let me tell you a story about 10 bridesmaids getting ready for the bridegroom to come for a wedding. Real quickly, verse 1. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins, 10 bridesmaids, who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now, 5 of them were completely foolish, and 5 of them were wise, prudent. They were sensible. The foolish one took their lamps, but they didn't take any oil with them. The lamps don't work without the oil. The wise one, however, these gals took oil in jars. They had extra amounts of oil along with their lamps. So they had their lamps filled and some extra in case they needed it. The bridegroom was a long time in coming. They became drowsy and they fell asleep. Apparently this wedding's delayed. A lot of them get delayed. Where is he? What's going on here? Well, at midnight, the cry rang out. Someone cried out, "Here's the bridegroom. Come, let's meet him. He's here. It's time." Then all the virgins woke up and they trimmed their lamps and they started to get ready. But the foolish ones said to the wise one, the wise one gone out. Like they're like waning, like we're down to like, we didn't prep. I'm sorry. We were supposed to, but we didn't. No, they replied. There may not be enough for both of us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some of it yourself. Good luck at midnight. I mean, I don't know if there's a Walmart open for you or how you're going to pull that off, but you need to go get oil yourself because we got enough for ourselves and extra to make sure we were ready for the bridegroom. But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. And the virgins who were ready, they went into the wedding feast with him, into the banquet hall, and then the door was shut. But later, the others also came, Lord, Lord, open the door for us. But he replied, I don't know you. Therefore, keep watch, because you don't know the day or the hour. If I had more time, I'd read the next one. He tells the story of the parable of the talents, right? Some get 5, some get 2, some get 1. He says, be ready, like invest it, use it for the Lord because he's coming back and he's going to go, what'd you do with your talents? He goes on and on. This is your quiet time assignment, right? Matthew 24 and 25. I just want you to see, he takes a lot of time, Jesus does, to say, be ready. You don't know when the robber comes. Be ready. You don't know when the bridegroom's going to arrive. Be ready. Because if you're not ready, when you are, the door is shut. Too late. Get ready to board the boat. Because when the water starts to come in the days of Noah, as much as you mock him, that door will shut. And you will be swept away. So in closing, challenging message today, but I think it comes from the mouth of Jesus when bad news breaks in on us, and it did this last week. Very real, sudden, startling, disruptive. We have people amongst us who are ready, at least spiritually. No one's ready at a concert listening to country music for a sniper. No one's ready to hear they have cancer. No one's ready to hear about a fatality of a loved one on just the 5 freeway. No one's ready for that. In a fallen world, there are some things you can't count on that are unpredictable. But that's not what Jesus is talking about. If you go in the Sistine Chapel, what he's talking about is you've heard the trumpets, right? And you know I'm coming back, right? You ready for me? Like, are you ready to meet your Maker? Because if not, you better tell your loved ones like what you want to tell them. Better get your life insurance in place. And you better get your spiritual ducks in a row because if I don't know you and the door gets shut, you're going to get left out. And if you're not ready, I don't know you. You're a hypocrite. You're a pretender. You're just going through the motions, but in the day of trial, it won't matter. Be ready. Amen.